Well, hello and welcome back to my channel and another discussion about this beautiful book, As a Man Thinketh. So is he. Whoops, there you go. Wow, and so I wonder how many of you have been actually looking at um, the the thoughts that you've been having since we started this dialogue together, and how they impact your life, and then how you can change those thoughts. And in part one, we actually addressed how thought affects what he calls character, so our personality. And then last week, we looked at the effects of thought on circumstances. So, have you noticed a change? Have you been able to monitor your thoughts and go, wow, yes, because remember that it's the subconscious that's running our lives. And the subconscious is full of files of thoughts of programming and conditioning. So until we create new neural pathways and we obliterate the old ones and get rid of the old files and replace new ones in the subconscious, we are constantly going to fall back into these old thought patterns that we've had since early childhood, of course. So it is important. This book is so basic. I constantly go back to what am I thinking, and it's not only something that I really wanted to discuss before we go into the next part, and that is that people say to me, well, I do so many affirmations. But I remember when I first started on this journey that I used to sit up at 4 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, because I had 3 kids to get to school. So that's the only time I had. And I used to write reams and reams of affirmations. But they were affirmations I wrote out of desperation for what I didn't have. So it didn't matter what the words were that I put on paper. It was the underlying feelings of the thoughts of the subconscious that were actually activating my experience. So it didn't matter. I thought that by writing those phrases, I was affirming something better for myself. But actually, what I was constantly affirming was the underlying subconscious thoughts and feelings. And that is why this is so essential for us to get a grip on. And that is where it all starts from. How we project ourselves consciously through the thoughts that create the feelings, that create the emotions, that send the message out and magnetizes what will become our reality as a consequence. So we're going to the next chapter, which is effect of thought on health and the body. Now, isn't that relevant right now? So the body is the servant of the mind, he says. It obeys the operations of the mind, whether they be deliberately chosen or automatically expressed. You've got to remember that we were taught to think, and very little of our thinking is original thought until we consciously take control of them and change them for our benefit. So, at the bidding of unlawful thoughts, the body sinks rapidly into disease and decay. At the command of glad and beautiful thoughts, it becomes clothed with usefulness and beauty. Disease and health, like circumstances, are rooted in thought. Sickly thoughts will express themselves through a sickly body. Thoughts of fear, and please, I'm going to read this twice. Thoughts of fear have been known to kill a man as speedily as a bullet. You've heard of people dropping dead out of fright. That's the power that fear has. and they're continually killing thousands of people just as surely, though less rapidly. The people who live in fear of disease are the people who get it. I'm going to say that again. The people who live in fear of a disease are the people who get it. And that might be really difficult for us to acknowledge and own, but until we do so, we cannot change that. It's a fact, it's a law of the universe. Anxiety quickly demoralizes the whole body and lays it open to the entrance of disease, while impure thoughts, even if not physically indulged, will soon shatter the nervous system. Strong, pure, and happy thoughts build up the body in vigor and grace. The body is a delicate and plastic instrument. Now, the word plastic used in 1902 didn't mean what it means now. It means that it was fluid, right? Like plasticine. It was, malleable. Okay. Which responds readily to the thoughts by which it is impressed. And habits of thought will produce their own effect, good or bad, upon it. Men will continue to have impure and poisoned blood so long as they propagate unclean thoughts. And I've seen that so often when people have come up with a disease, that has been diagnosed. And then I look and I say, well, where does that come from? Where down there in your subconscious is the impurity? And it may be a blame or a shame or a repetitive regret of something that you've either done or something that has been done to you. So, and then we keep repeating that in our subconscious mind. And that is, of course, what is the cause that gives the effect. Out of a clean heart comes a clean life and a clean body. Out of defiled mind proceeds a defiled life and a corrupt body. Now, sometimes you see people who you think are really godly or whatever you want to call that, and what we would call in the old way, really good people. And yet the effect that they bring upon themselves is not so good. And always comes back to what is in the secrets of the mind, what is going on in those corners that we haven't looked into and that are secret because we can't see them. And until we own every little shadow in the mind, we will continue to play out the effect of them. Thought is the fount of action, life, and manifestation. And make the fountain pure, and all will be pure. So the more that we purify our thoughts, the more pure the effect and the more pure our life will be. Change of diet will not help a man who will not change his thoughts. When a man makes his thoughts pure, he no longer desires impure food. That's a difficult one for us, I think, because we're so indoctrinated with continuous advertisements of food. You need to have that burger and this something and all this fast food stuff that we've been conditioned with. And that is all in the subconscious. It's quick and easy. And that is changing. People are starting to take much more care and listening to their bodies. And when we listen to our bodies, it will always tell us what is appropriate for your specific energetic configuration. There's, this idea at the moment that we have to be vegan or we have to have a vegan eating regime or even a raw vegan or But that may be fine for one person's frequency configuration. It may be completely detrimental to somebody else's frequency configuration. And that is something that people haven't quite got yet. It's like, oh, it's good. I'm vegetarian. I'm now on a vegetarian diet. Oh, good. But there are people who actually that is not sustainable for their particular vibrational frequency. And until we actually own that and we stop judging others for not doing what we want to do, we're on the wrong tram. And we're not listening. We're not listening to our own frequency, our own signature of vibration, and we're not allowing another to have a different one. There is not one blanket thing for everyone. Why do you think we've been incarnated so individually? It has a purpose. And this blanket stuff that we do with, treating discomforts, treating disorder, the blanket of education, the blanket of everything. Everybody has to stand in line and be the same. Impossible. Impossible. No matter how hard you try. And there will always be a resistance inside that goes against that because it's against nature. Diversity is what is nature. So clean thoughts make clean habits. The so-called saint who does not wash his body is not a saint. He who has straightened and purified his thoughts does not need to consider the malevolent microbe. So, in other words, if you have thoughts of faith and thoughts of trusting in your immune system and thoughts of knowing that you are perfect because you are a beautiful expression of Prime Creator that comes prepared, then you're less likely to have or to make yourself vulnerable to malevolent microbes or germs, right? If you would protect your body, guard your mind. If you would renew your body, beautify your mind. Thoughts of malice, envy, disappointment, despondency rob the body of its health and grace. A sour face does not come by chance. It is made by sour thoughts. Wrinkles that, I think that's really quite amusing. Wrinkles that are drawn by folly, passion, and pride. He uses the word passion different to how we use it today. Okay, well, the way that I use passion. Passion is feeling, enthusiastic and motivated about good stuff. But he uses passion in a various manner of probably more of the lower human traits. Let me say, I know a woman, that's what he says, I know a woman of 96 who has the bright, innocent face of a girl. I know a man, well under middle age, whose face is drawn into inharmonious contours. The one is the result of a sweet and sunny disposition. The other is the outcome of discontent. As you cannot have a sweet and wholesome abode unless you admit the air and sunshine freely into your rooms, so a strong body and a bright, happy, or serene countenance can only result from the free admittance into the mind of thoughts of joy and goodwill and serenity. Now, that's really powerful because one of the things that we've encountered in the last couple of years is this falseness of believing that if you cover the breath, if you reduce the breath, the air intake, it is for your good. And it cannot be. Unless you admit the air and the sunshine freely. So locking yourself up away from nature and sunshine and air is total opposite to creating whole health and well-being, and cannot possibly give you an effect that you desire. On the faces of the aged there are wrinkles made by sympathy, and others by strong and pure thought, and others are carved by not such good thoughts. Who cannot distinguish them? And that's very true. You see people who are, they're like this, and you see people who, no matter how old they are, they always have a smile on their face. So let's keep smiling, as they say, right? With those who have lived righteously, age is calm, peaceful, and softly mellowed like the setting sun. I've recently seen a philosopher on his deathbed. He has not He was not old except in years. He died as sweetly and peacefully as he had lived. There is no physician like cheerful thought with dissipating the ills of the body. And gosh, isn't that true? Because when you see somebody who is ill and they have a really great attitude and they trust and believe that they'll get better, and they do. And then you have people who collapse into the actual illness and it takes much longer to recover. There is no comforter to compare with goodwill for dispersing the shadows of grief and sorrow. To live continually in thoughts of ill will, cynicism, suspicion, and envy is to be confined in a self-made prison. But to think well of all, to be cheerful with all, to patiently learn to find the good in all, such unselfish thoughts are the very portals of heaven. And to dwell day by day in thoughts of peace towards every creature will bring abounding peace to their possessor. That really is a very brief look at the effect of thoughts from his perspective on health and well-being. And I really feel that for me, I have seen time and time again that the right attitude towards health and well-being, it strengthens the immune system. And the recovery is so much quicker. But fear has such power to keep one trapped in illness, in feeling of powerlessness to heal. We live in the most miraculous creation that is self-generating, self-regenerating, self-healing. There isn't a cell in your body that is the same as it was when you got up this morning or last night or the night before. Because we are shedding cells all the time, and the body is replacing cells all the time. We only age because we are programmed to believe that as we spend more years on this planet, we must deteriorate. Well, it's something that I'm not really believing in, and I'm hanging on to that belief. When I first started on this journey, and the first thing that I learned from Louise Hay was that this journey of becoming a conscious, awakened, spiritually connected being was like a rejuvenation. And I'm saying, I'm buying that. And I really do believe that. I believe that I feel stronger and healthier every day. It is just a number. It is a programming. Why on earth, if we are continuously replenishing new cells, why would we replenish them with old cells or old looking cells or cells that don't function properly, only because of the thoughts that we must deteriorate with age. Think about that. If you really understand that this is a body, it is an instrument that heals itself. When you cut yourself, you put a band-aid on, but your expectation is that you could take that band-aid off either tomorrow or the day after, and it will have healed itself. And why do you expect that? Because you see it time and time again. So if the skin can do that, if you can heal after a surgery, and it can and the muscles are able to reconnect with one another, if that's possible, why then not trust that this body has an inbuilt system of rejuvenation, of replenishing healthy cells, pure cells, vibrant cells? It has an immune system that can ward off anything that is not of benefit to us. And it's all because we've been programmed to believe different. And those are the subconscious thoughts that you run your health and well-being by until you consciously change that. I know my body is a self-healing, magnificent, regenerative expression of source. And I listen to it and ask it, what is it that you need to be in your full power? Hey, I don't always listen. I mean, I hear it. Sometimes I don't do the right thing either, because that's a human part of me. But most of the time, I think healthy thoughts. And nobody can tell me any different. Because I know that if I think differently, I have to experience differently. And I'm really quite happy with a strong body that is healthy, that has an immune system that keeps me vibrant. So think healthy thoughts and be healthy. Think useful thoughts and be more useful. So the next little chapter is thought and purpose. Many people come up and say, well, I want to know my purpose. I don't know what my purpose is. Well, the only purpose I believe that is necessary to have any knowledge about is to feel good. Because when we feel good, we do good and we are good. And we are healthy. And guess what? We're happy and content. It is only when we constantly look at our lives as not having enough, or not being enough, or being in fear of running out, or fear of death, or fear of being hurt, all of those things, all of those thoughts, they cause a lowering of our resistance, a lowering of our vibrational frequency. So let's look at thought and purpose. Unite thought until thought is linked with purpose. There is no intelligent accomplishment. It's a little book because he doesn't mince words. You know, he could have embellished it, but no, not James Allen. He obviously didn't feel he had time. With the majority, the bark of thought is allowed to drift upon the ocean of life. In other words, we are not taking conscious responsibility about what we're thinking. The thoughts just drift along, okay? Aimlessness is a vice, and such drifting must not continue for him who would steer clear of catastrophe and destruction. They also have no central purpose in their life, fall an easy prey to petty worries, fears, troubles, and self-pityings, all of which are indications of weakness, which lead just as surely as deliberately planned sins, though by a different route, because it comes from the subconscious and you're not even aware of it, right? To failure, unhappiness, and loss. For weakness cannot persist in a power-evolving universe. So if your life is filled with some of these things, okay, where you feel troubled and you feel worries, and it comes because of the thoughts that you perpetuate, either consciously or unconsciously. So it is so vital that we not only become self-honest and know what that thinking machine is doing, but if we want to change this world to a better place, we need to start with ourselves and make our world a better place. And that begins always with cleaning out that subconscious filing cabinet. They who have no central purpose in their life. Oh, I've just read that. A man should conceive of a legitimate purpose in his heart and set out to accomplish it. In other words, he's talking about we need to have what one calls a goal. We need to have somewhere that we're aiming our life towards. And it might be as simple as, well, I remember when I first started on this journey, and obviously everything that I had been doing wasn't working for me. So I said, well, me, the thinking me, is making a mess. So show me what is the purpose for my being here, and show me the way, because I'm willing to do it if I know what it is. And so that is how my journey began. And that was my purpose. My purpose then was to find my purpose. That might be all that's necessary. He should make this purpose the centralizing point of his thoughts. It may take the form of a spiritual ideal, or it may be a worldly object, according to his nature at the time. But whichever it is, he should steadily focus his thought forces upon the object which he has set before him. He should make this purpose his supreme duty and should devote himself to its attainment, not allowing his thoughts to wander away into ephemeral fancies, longings, and imaginings. And this is what's been happening in our world of the materialism and commercialism. We're constantly drawn away and tempted to have this trinket, have that trinket. And, it just, it takes us away from what we really are asking for in our heart's desire. What is your heart's desire? Write it down. Not a material thing, but your heart's desire is a feeling. And if you make that feeling your purpose, and it may be a feeling of feeling free, it may be a feeling of feeling content, it may be a feeling of feeling that you belong. Whatever it is, that feeling has thoughts. When the thoughts and the feeling become the same, then there is nothing other than the effect possible. This is the royal road to self-control and true concentration of thought. Even if he fails again and again to accomplish his purpose, as he necessarily must until weakness is overcome. He talks about the old thought forms. The strength of character gained will be the measure of his true success, and this will form a new starting point for future power and triumph. And that is this determination, never giving up. If you're being true to your heart, then don't give up, no matter what the obstacles are. And ultimately, it has to come to you, or you have to come to it, actually. Those who are not prepared for the apprehension of a great purpose should fix the thoughts upon the faultless performance of their duty, no matter how insignificant their task may appear. And that's really important. So, we have had this really, really, I was going to use the word bad, but for me, uh, impure and insulting is a good word there. Uh, you know, judgment of people who do what we call lowly tasks, right? Like people who might come and clean your toilet, or people who scrub the floors, or people who clean, sweep the streets, or people who pick up the rubbish. Well, you only have to live in a world where none of that is done. And then you start to really be grateful. I am so grateful for anyone who supports me in any shape or form in those. And they are like my personal assistants, and I revere these beings. But if you think of that as a lowly task, but if you're going to, let's say that at the moment, there are a lot of people because they've walked away from their jobs, or their careers. And so a lot of people have turned to cleaning houses for other people. And in a way, some of them feel that that is, lowering themselves, but they've got to make ends meet, so to speak. But it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you do it to the best of your abilities so that you are proud of it. Clean toilets like they shine and glimmer. Scrub floors so that they look like new, right? Whatever it is, make sure that when you pick up the garbage that every piece is picked up and there aren't bits flying about in the road. Do everything to the best of your ability as if it is the most godly of actions and activities. That is how you bring up the level of your frequency and your thought to bring you to a higher state of consciousness. So there isn't a menial task on the planet. It is only a menial thought. Only in this way can the thoughts be gathered and focused, and resolution and energy be developed, which being done, there is nothing which may not be accomplished. The weakest soul, knowing its own weakness and believing this truth, that strength can only be developed by effort and practice, will thus believing at once begin to exert itself, and adding effort to effort, patience to patience, and strength to strength, will never cease to develop and will at last grow divinely strong. At the physically weak man, as the physically weak man can make himself strong by careful and patient training, so the man of weak thoughts can make them strong by exercising himself in right thinking. To put away aimlessness and weakness and to begin to think with purpose is to enter the ranks of those strong ones who only recognize failure as one of the pathways to attainment. So failure is just one more way that you found out it doesn't work. So let's have another go. Who make all conditions serve them, and who think strongly, attempt fearlessly, and accomplish masterfully. Having conceived of this purpose, a man should, he uses the word should a lot. Of course, we've eliminated it, but let's just allow him to use it. A man should mentally mark out a straight pathway to its achievement, looking neither to the right nor the left. This is why we put blinkers on a horse, so it doesn't get distracted. Maybe we need to put some blinkers on ourselves, yes? Doubts and fears should be rigorously excluded. They are disintegrating elements which break up the straight line of effort, rendering it crooked, ineffectual, useless. Thoughts of doubt and fear never accomplish anything and never can. I'm going to say that again. Thoughts of doubt and fear never accomplish anything and never can. They always lead to failure. Purpose, energy, power to do, and all strong thoughts cease when doubt and fear creep in. It's one of the greatest saboteurs, doubt. Maybe just for a moment, look within yourself and look in what areas of your life do you doubt? Do you doubt that you are smart enough? Do you doubt that people love you? Do you doubt that you'll ever make it, whatever that means? Do you doubt that you have value? It goes on and on, doesn't it? So please look within your thought cupboard, the programmed conditioning, and find out where you have learned to doubt. And then bring that home with love. The will to do springs from the knowledge that we can do. So when we listen to doubt, we allow the saboteur to undo. Doubt and fear are the great enemies of knowledge, and he who encourages them, who does not slay them, thwarts himself at every step. He who has conquered doubt and fear has conquered failure. His every thought is allied with power, and all difficulties are bravely met and wisely overcome. His purposes are seasonably planted, and they bloom and bring forth fruit, which does not fall prematurely to the ground. Because it's strong. The fruit that you bear is strong. Thought, allied fearlessly to purpose, becomes a creative force. Feel the force, right? When do we feel that force? When we are focused, when we have an intention that we will not be dissuaded from. And make that intention your health, your well-being, your joy, your inner peace. For he who knows this is ready to become something higher and stronger than a mere bundle of wavering thoughts and fluctuating sensations. He who does this has become the conscious and intelligent wielder of his mental powers. That is thought and purpose. Become the master of your mind. Become the driver of your life. Become the force behind your innate creative self-expression. And use it in service first of self and then of others. Yes, I say first of self because unless and until we acknowledge, honor, and revere the instrument that life is living through for us and prepared to be there for others, there is nothing. Without ourselves, there is no life. Therefore, thought and purpose, make that your purpose. to bring your thoughts back to honoring, revering, and loving the self, and then loving everyone else the same, as a magnificent expression of God consciousness in human form. That is who you are. That is who you've always been. And that is who you can be by the choice of thought. Wow. So those were two wonderful little chapters that deal with thought on health and well-being, and thought that affects purpose. I do really hope, and I don't use that word very much, that this has been powerful for you, that the words that you hear are resonating with you, so that you can implement them within yourself. And please comment and send me, some responses as to how this is affecting you. And are you able to make changes in your thoughts? Are you able to thwart the saboteur, doubt, and fear, and free yourself to think consciously, powerfully, intentionally, to take you where you can experience the highest version of you, so that you can share that generously with everyone else. So we have one more to go next week. I just looked, we're not completely finished. And the next one is, let me just have a little look. Oh, we've got a few more. The next one is the thought factor in achievement. Whoa, that'd be powerful. That's what we're going to be addressing in part 4. And then visions and ideals are, I think, the last. Is that the last one? Oh, serenity is the last one. Well, we will see how far we come in part 4. And in the meantime, please utilize everything that you can, that's possible, to take your power back. And it starts by taking back your way of thinking. So thank you for joining me once again. I love you. Love yourself more. Because remember, without you, there is no life at all. See you next week. Have a wonderful life, choosing your thoughts powerfully and intentionally.